Join us for the very first IFL Live at London's Indigo at the O2, Sunday, August the 13th, with me, Kugan Cassius, and some very special guests. Eddie Hearn, Darren Barker, Johnny Fisher, and more. Tickets now on sale. So in the words of Eddie Hearn,
you get up, you dress up, and you fucking show up.
Andrew McCART, IFL TV, proudly sponsored by Everlast. I'm here with Ben Davison himself. Ben, in Edinburgh, Leigh McGregor, world title fight. I mean, there's a lot made of Leigh McGregor's outside the ring and what's been going on, but what does this mean to them? You've been around them for so long now. What does this mean to them, this world title shot in Edinburgh?
Yeah, it's a big opportunity, you know, and pressure was something that was talked about on the stage at the press conference, and I think that Leigh, you know, he's the fastest to ever win British, Commonwealth and European titles with inside 10 fights in British boxing history. And I think that shows that he thrives on pressure, you know, to be moved that quickly in the way that he has done. He thrives on that pressure, and I think that with everything that's gone on, some people may turn around and say it's a fight too soon. But I also think that Leigh is the type to rise to the occasion, thrive on the pressure. He's been consistently in the gym, which is a huge factor, something that he wasn't for a while, and understandably with all the things that have been going on outside of that, but now he's consistently in the gym. The opportunity has been laid out for him, and now it's our job to deliver on our end.
You mentioned the pressure there, but there's more than just pressure. There's that unknown with these Mexican fighters now. There was a little bit set up there with these Mexican fighters coming over here and upsetting the apple cart, Lara being one of them, and then Giovanni Straffon against Tennyson in the first round. Then you had Lopez, Alberto Lopez as well, beating Warrington. So there is that unknown that these Mexican fighters, even they might not be taping them, they come over here, they're not here to pick up a paycheck, they're here to upset. They don't care about the crowd, don't care about where they are in the country. So it's a dangerous fight as well as a pressure fight for Leigh.
They all are, but like we talked about, you know, I know it's an IBO, but it's an IBO world title fight, and you know, it's a big fight, and to be in these big fights, they're going to be tough fights, and you have to produce the goods, and that's something that Leigh has done consistently when been put under in these big tests and in these big title fights. That's something that he's going to do again on Friday.
Now, you know Leigh, I know Leigh. Mexican fighters come to fight. Now, when they come to fight, they always seem to draw the away fighter, the home fighter, into that battle. Now, for you as a coach, how do you sort of stop Leigh from getting drawn into that battle where it will favour maybe a Mexican fighter that comes forward a little bit? So how do you calm Leigh down, because we know that Leigh does like to get in a scrap sometimes, so how do you approach that in your own head and the game plan as well going forward?
Yeah, well, I do think Leigh will push Robles back. You know, he's a good southpaw, and he throws the left hand down the pipe, and I think that is something that we need to be aware of. And I think that if Leigh does get emotional, that's something that could become a problem. You know, in a rush, trying to press too hard, left hand coming down the pipe, southpaw, you know, can be a difficult shot to get out of the way of. So it's important that he doesn't get emotional. It's important that he's strategic. It's important that he focuses on what he needs to do, and he goes in there and does exactly that.
People that think, Erik Robles, he's unknown, blah, blah, blah. I went on his box rec and I looked, and I was looking at his last 6 fights, and 3 of them last 6 fights, he's beat unbeaten opponents and stopped them guys in that. So, it's, like I said, it's a dangerous fight for Leigh, and one that if fans and people are looking at this fight and being, it's a walkover for Leigh, it's far from that. Yeah,
and that's always the way when people haven't seen him or don't know him, you know. But like I said, in these major title fights, they're always going to be tough fights. That's boxing. That's what boxing's about. You know, that's why it's headlining on such a great platform like Channel 5, because, you know, it's a competitive fight, and those are the fights that Wasserman need. They're the fights that they need to be able to produce for the TV. They're the fights that need to be made to be winning major titles, and like I said, they're the type of fights that Leigh thrives off.
Your gym right now is probably one of the best young stables of fighters that you've got in the Pat McCormack and all the rest, Shabazz as well, who's there, and like you've Leigh Wood as well, he's not a young fighter. It's probably safe to say that he is that young fighter, but he seems to be, this is his sort of like twilight years, and he seems to be getting better, obviously with that Lara win the last time out. But there's also these whispers about the Josh Warrington. Now, I don't think Josh would like to go to Nottingham. I don't think Leigh would like to go to Leeds. I heard it maybe Sheffield. I don't know if you can elaborate on if that fight's going to happen, when it will happen, and what news can you give me, Ben?
Yeah, I don't think Josh would have been too bothered about going to Nottingham. I think that, obviously first and foremost is for I'm sure Matchroom and Eddie and Frank, and they'll be the ones to want to announce all the information when it's all finalised. But look, the reality is it's a huge fight. It's up there in the top 4 fights of this year in British fights, so in Britain. So I think that we'll be looking to maximise the revenue, the biggest available venue at that date, on that date. So we will. I'm sure you'll hear some news soon.
And I'm looking forward to it. Now, I'm going to take a segue away from you and your fighters and maybe talk about a guy that you know very well, Tyson Fury. Now, there's a lot made of this Ngannou fight and how a lot from the boxing fraternity unhappy with it, because obviously Ngannou never boxed in his life, a UFC guy coming in and he's fighting somebody like Tyson Fury, who's probably the best heavyweight of our era in a lot of people's eyes. Now, as a friend of Tyson Fury, you've been in his corner a good few times, you've been around him when he was training and whatnot. Your initial thoughts when that fight was made?
I don't really know. Look, I think obviously the fight that everybody wants to see in the boxing world wants to see is the Usyk fight, and I'm sure that's the fight that Queensbury want. I'm sure that's the fight that TNT, the new BT Sports want. I'm sure that's the fight that WBC want. And I just hope that we do get that fight. So whether I know I said this going into the Chisora fight, like if it's a tick over, but we're going to see the Usyk fight a couple of months after, it's not too big of an issue. If the two teams are in discussions, Usyk and Tyson, and the fight's going to happen maybe end of the year, probably more likely start of next year, I don't mind it. Secure the bag, baby. I know that
Why are you trying to act cool, Ben? Come on.
I don't follow the UFC, but from what people have told me, they. Francis Ngannou left the UFC and was sort of in no man's land, and this opportunity's come about for him. So I'm happy for him that he's gonna secure the bag, so to speak. I know Tyson secured the bag a few times, but he's securing the bag again. So listen, we don't know the ins and outs of the Tyson-Usyk negotiations. It's hard to say, so and so's doing this and so and so's doing that. Let's just play out the scenario that Tyson was wanting to make the fight, and Usyk's team messed up negotiations, and he's gone, no problem, I'm going to go and box Ngannou and earn bundles of money. You can't blame him. It's different if, but we don't know the ins and outs of what happened in these negotiations. So, take it for what it is and enjoy. I'm sure everybody's going to tune in. So,
I said that to somebody. I was sort of half trying to fight Tyson's corner, and I was like, well, Dubois, Usyk fighting, we've got White Joshua fighting, Ruiz and Wilder, they're fighting. Tyson's in that position now where even if he was to fight like a Frank Sanchez or somebody in that realm, it doesn't quite grab the imagination. Do you know what I mean? And that's nothing against Frank Sanchez, them other guys, but if you say Ngannou, hardest puncher in UFC history, UFC champion, blah, 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 crossover fight, it grabs that casual imagination. And even sometimes I'll be tuning in, I'm sure you'll be tuning in, so it does grab your imagination, even though it's against somebody that's never boxed before.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, boxing always wants the champion active and defending his title, and look, I don't think that anybody's interested in Tyson against Frank Sanchez. I don't think they're interested in anything like that. Anything outside of probably Usyk and a Joshua fight for Tyson Fury, people aren't really going to be that interested in. I think people would poo-poo slightly a Ruiz fight. I think, a Wilder Full fight, they're not interested in it. We've seen Tyson and White. So, whatever the situation is there with those negotiations, I know that Joshua's negotiating, has talks about this possible Deontay Wilder fight with Joshua. Usyk's fighting Dubois, so hopefully, what date's that fight?
Yeah, Usyk Dubois. I think it's August. It's August. I think it's the week after 20th. Tyson's the 28th of October. I think Usyk Dubois is the 20th of August and 19th of August. Yeah,
so I just hope that once these two fights are out of the way, we're going to get to see a Tyson and Usyk fight, because undisputed heavyweight champion, that'd be some And there's some huge fights after that, you know, especially if Wilder and Joshua are going to get it on. You know, the winner of that, fights the winner of that, and it becomes an undisputed. You know, the heavyweight division very quickly could really light up.
Well, that's what I'm saying, but these lighter divisions are definitely showing these heavyweight divisions what to do. We've just seen Tank Davis, Ryan Garcia, we've got Spence Crawford coming up, even Charlo Canelo and Callum Smith and Bertabiev. I mean, these small divisions, the featherweight division is my favourite division because you're all fighting each other. There's been about 10 different world champions in the last 2 years or whatever it was, so these lighter divisions are showing the heavyweight division how it's done. We just want the heavyweight division to start crossing these T's and dotting them I's or whatever, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? Because the heavyweight division has always been the one that draws the most attention, brings in the most revenue. So I think that it's probably slightly easier for world title fights at these lower weight classes to get made. Just being honest, not saying that it's right or wrong. I'm just saying that's probably the truth. I think that Tyson Fury, for example, is the face of TNT Sports, right? So. For him to, for example, let's see him and Joshua won in a box. Joshua is the face of DAZN. Tyson's the face of TNT Sports. That becomes a lot of things to have to overcome to make these fights happen. So, it's not. Been done before. Yeah, it has been done before for sure. Manny Pacquiao, Mayweather. That's a prime example. So it can be done, but it has got more obstacles than Leigh Wood versus Josh Warrington type thing. So. But that's not to say that it's right. Boxing needs it. We need to see these fights happen. So hopefully that's what we get, because that's what I want as well.
Definitely, that's what I want as well. But we're packing up here, so I'll probably let you get on a little bit. One final one on Leigh McGregor and his world title fight.
Yeah, great opportunity. Like I said, Wasserman have delivered. First fight on the deal, straight back to Edinburgh in an IBO world title fight. So yes, it's on us now to deliver on our end, like I said.
And I'm sure you will, Ben. Thank you so much, mate. I'll see you at the weigh-in tomorrow, man. Thank you, mate. Thank you.
Join us for the very first IFL Live at London's Indigo at the O2, Sunday, August the 13th, with me, Kugan Cassius, and some very special guests, Eddie Hearn, Darren Barker, Johnny Fisher, and more. Tickets now on sale. So in the words of Eddie Hearn,
you get up, you dress up, and you fucking shut up.